although this is like a bit of a segue here, emotional segue, but my father did not like any of my books until Elf Empire. Technically, Elf Empire, the first Elf Empire, I think, is my 10th novel that I've ever written, and my father did not care for the first 9. Did not think I was a very good author. Now, he's a wonderful, wonderful father. For anybody that hasn't read my posts, I don't want to be, giving you the wrong impression here.
Yeah.
He's somebody I aspire to be. Okay, but he's also a very honest individual. And so when I was like, "What did you think of my book?" He was like, "It's fine, but I don't really care for it." Elf Empire, he actually liked. He liked it a whole lot, and I found out he was dying in time to fly out and see him. And almost the last thing I ever talked to him about is he asked me to tell me how the series was going to end. And so I gave him the entire, like verbally told him the outline of the entire remainder of the series and how it would end and all that. And that's almost literally the last thing I ever talked with him about. So I guess this will sort of have a weird special place in my heart forever, because it's really the only series, because I hadn't written this other stuff before he passed. It's the only series of mine he ever really liked, and he cared enough that on his deathbed he wanted to hear how the story ended. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, I have the outline of the story, is I guess all I'm really saying with that. But yeah, most of my work, if you talk to people, I'm really heavy on charts, really heavy on the numbers. I'm very, very on the LitRPG side. And for Elf Empire, it's a story, and I tell it in odd beats. It's usually 3, sometimes 2, almost mini stories per book, but it's all about the main character ruling over and building this empire, repairing this shattered kingdom. So it's definitely gotten mixed reviews. I think in audiobooks it does poorly because my stat charts take about 12 minutes to talk through, and I know audiobook people don't really like stat charts that go so long that you're just listening to half your drive as a stat chart.
Yeah.
It does considerably better in ebook form. But I really feel that the people that are like hardcore lit RPG specifically, as opposed to like progression fantasy, really like the series, and people that are hardcore progression fantasy really are not as huge a fan of the series.
Oh, that's interesting. I do totally see that with the audiobook though, because like Primal Hunter, like book 1, I was kind of like, I'm gonna come back to this as an ebook because I enjoyed it, but like some of it was just it just kind of threw me off, I think. And I've read a lot of RPG. Definitely like I definitely feel like Dungeon Crawler Carl does it the way I like it on the audiobook, but then I guess I'm weird. I still like the print version of that, so it's like weird, right? Like I like the audio of Dungeon Crawler Carl, but I actually like Primal Hunter. Like Kindle more. I don't know. I'm like weird.
No, it makes 100% sense. I get it. Listening to, having a stat chart you can reference for powers and stuff is really fun in
Yep.
visual form, but listening to every single thing repeated over for 12 minutes would get extremely boring. And when I wrote Elf Empire, I wasn't thinking about audiobook stuff.
That makes total sense. Yeah.
So I've shifted in these later books to doing, even if it's complicated, I now break up the stuff into small, it doesn't take more than a minute to say what I'm, maybe 2 to say the stuff. But Elf Empire, I think, was my last wall of stat block stuff. And so I think that's one of the reasons it's, some people love it. Like I have diehard fans, but a lot of people don't care for it. And I think that's the primary reason, is that really heavy lit RPG wall of stat block type stuff.